to the Modern Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Giordani. Special guest today, Alexia Barbara. Is that how you say it?
Alexio Barbara.
Alexio Barbara, a San Diego native, commercial real estate broker, third generation. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on the podcast, Josh.
Of course, anytime, man. So tell. We were just actually chatting. It's kind of funny because small world in San Diego. Mm-hmm. We actually ended up growing up in the same exact area that I currently live in.
Yeah, pretty similar. Crazy. Same middle school.
Yep. Same high school. Well, not same high school, but I was in high school while you were in middle school at the same school, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's a small school too, a little charter school in North County, Guahomie.
Yeah.
Park Academy.
Yep. It's very funny how all that stuff just gets tied together when you meet new people and all that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if I've met anybody else who went to Guahomie since I went to school there. So
how funny.
Funny how that works out.
So third generation, so I'm assuming your dad was in real estate as well?
So, it all kind of started with my grandpa, who he was in a different time, born 1925, they were riding horses and stuff in Texas growing up. He ended up becoming a contractor later in life and moved out to San Diego with my mom and his family, and he just started building a lot of projects over here. First, actually, he started in Houston, and then he came to San Diego and then continued that business model. He actually built some of the apartment buildings that my family owns in North County. And I continue to operate. It's actually kind of fun right now because they were built in 1975, 1976, something like that. And now I'm renovating them.
How funny.
So it's funny seeing what was in at the time and what's in now. It's completely different. It's like night and day.
Oh, yeah.
Shaker white cabinets. Before it was oak wood,
mm-hmm.
hardwood, really intricately designed, finish it, edges on the wood.
Yep.
And furniture and things like that. So anyway, he was in the business. My dad he's full French, so he has a heavy accent. And he came, once he married my mom, they kind of came and settled back here in San Diego. And he started kind of apprenticing behind my grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandpa kind of showed him how to manage property. And eventually my dad purchased the apartment building in North County that we own in Vista.
How many units is it?
That one in particular is 19 units.
Okay, cool.
And my dad, learned how to refinance through his mentorship and advice, how to, manage tenants, manage increasing the value of the property, increasing the rents over time, keeping up with market value. And over time, as you refinance a property, pull some cash out, you can buy another one. Mm-hmm. He was able to do that a couple times effectively. So now the portfolio in North County is upwards of 50 units.
Oh, wow.
We have another 10-unit project that I'm, 50-50 with my dad east of downtown. So I'm kind of taking on the reins now. My dad has since moved down to Playa del Carmen, Mexico.
Nice.
He's in retirement mode and has me as the boots on the ground here, just continuing the family business, maintaining the family business.
Power of cash flow.
Yeah. No, it's amazing, and it's really cool to see how that business model has, evolved from my grandpa to my dad and now to me. And it's this really cool generational wealth that we talk about a lot.
Absolutely. Do you? This is a loaded question. We talked a little bit. I used to work with my dad when I got into real estate. Do you find it challenging to work with family?
I have a pretty good relationship with my dad when it comes to real estate. I think there is a lot of challenges just because they expect sometimes for you to work for free because
sure.
they're like, hey, we're family. These are all the things I've done for you. But I think for the most part, we have a really good business relationship. Everything seems to work well. We have, even personally and in business, we have good relationships. I think personally, it's a little tougher now because I have a son mm-hmm. and, a wife, and that's pulling me a different direction than
sure.
You grow up with this family and you do everything that mom and dad say.
Right.
You go everywhere they go. And then now I've got my own life. And when they come to town, they're like, let's go do this. And I'm like, no, we're doing this. We have a baby now. And I think it's hard for them to
grasp,
to really jump on our train now.
Sure.
I'm no longer on their train.
Right.
100%. So, I think in terms of relationship and doing business, that's the dynamic.
Yeah. It was tough because when I was telling you before we started this, I got into real estate with my with my dad. So for like first couple of years, it was really challenging trying to like figure out like what this, like how to mold our relationship into the correct way of like doing business. Because I'm sure, as you know, like with your dad and him being trained by your grandpa, they have different ways of doing things than how maybe us as 30-year-olds, or at the time I was 20 and 19, different way of doing business, right? They were
raised
the ones
in a completely different time and culture. It's evolved since then.
Yeah, where like they're the first. My dad would always be like the first one in the door and the last one to leave. Where I'm the type of person to like work smarter, not harder. But now, still to this day, I still work harder, but I work smarter, harder. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Tongue twister.
yeah. Just I think I think the biggest lesson from real estate and investing is that it's not about working harder; it's about working smarter. And you can make a few decisions that'll save you. You can make a few decisions that will allow you to spend a fraction of the time achieving the same or much greater outcome. A decision to invest your money in an apartment building, a duplex versus a boat.
Sure.
Will allow you to have much more financial freedom, even 2, 3, 4 years down the line, just because you have that, you take that long-term thinking approach.
Absolutely.
And otherwise, you could spend every day working at Jamba Juice, and maybe you'll be at that same position in 20 years.
Yeah, you definitely have to think long-term. You can't think short-term. And I think that's the biggest thing with being in the real estate industry, like for both of us. You eventually, like as a realtor or a lender or title or escrow, you have to be thinking like, do you want to be doing this for 30 years? No, you got to set yourself up for your future self. What does that mean? Invest, right? Whether that's investing in stocks, investing in real estate, you have to diversify so you have you don't want to be in this industry for 20 plus years, in my opinion. At least I don't. I want to be able to go and travel. I want to be able to go and do things with my wife, eventually have kids, and not have to worry about, the hustle mode all the time.
Well, that's what gets me so excited. And I tell my wife about this particular topic. We talk about it almost weekly because, there's I want to see you more. And then, we don't get to see you enough. And I'm like, well, if I can put the hours in today, it's going to create financial freedom. Like it's crystal clear, this goal of achieving financial freedom within like a 5 to 10 year period, meaning like we can travel perpetually, we can enjoy all these fruits of life. And that just means maybe spending a little bit more time in the office today so that we can create this amazing life a few years down the line. I think there's a fine line there. You can't always be searching for this target. You have to enjoy the moment too. So, I do draw the line somewhere. I make sure I get home in time to have walks with my family and spend time together on the weekends. Entrepreneurs, we could literally work every waking hour. And sometimes you have to like work, focus to shut that part of your brain off a little bit. But that long-term thinking, I think that's something you talk about. I've seen a couple of your other podcast episodes with other people that now today's generation is very short-term, immediate gratification oriented. So it's almost counterintuitive for a lot of people just based on how their habits have formed to even think a couple years down the line or a couple months down the line. Even, a lot of people I know are making amazing incomes, but, they don't have more than 5-10 grand in the bank. That's like 2 months rent in San Diego.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's hard. I definitely think sacrificing a little bit, but I think now, and I'm speaking for myself, I am sacrificing a lot of time, but I'm able now to say no to a lot more things, and I'm saying yes to the things that I think are meaningful and mean something in my life. Going into like making sure, I don't have kids yet, but we're married, and I want to make sure that I am home, that I am like we are able to go and sit down and have dinner together, and I am home before she leaves, so we can spend a little bit of time in the morning together. I don't think that sacrifice these days means that you need to be working until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, right? I think. Especially with you with kids, I'm sure you realize really fast that you have to get in a lot of shit within a short period of time. Like if you're working from 9 to 5, you're cramming in a lot of stuff in between 9 to 5.
Mess around.
No, yeah, you're time blocking. You're doing it correctly. You're doing it efficiently.
Right. Well, you only have you'll see when you have a kid too, especially that first year, you go from having what seems like all the free time in the world to like, oh my God, where did it go? Right. Like every waking minute, this thing now requires you or your partner's attention. And that's, it changes a lot of things. And if, you need to give your partner a break so they can even just go and take a shower because someone got to watch the kid while you're in the bathroom.
Right.
So like, it's funny how that has been like a shock this year, and how, you know, my kids almost turned one in a week. So
nice. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's been a big evolution, but that time blocking has been more critical than ever in my life before this year. You know, I used to go out, I'm a very social guy. I want to like say yes to everything. I want to go say, oh, my friends want to go have a beer over here. Want to go meet at the beach for a barbecue. And, you know, I want to say yes to all those things, because I have it lights me up to like have these memories and laughs with new people and people I've known my whole life. But I've had to start really picking and choosing when I say yes to those experiences and what I say no to. And it's been probably a good thing too, because you have to, you know, it helps me focus my time where it's important.
Right. 100%. I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, because I'm sure I want to get into obviously the real estate stuff.
Sure.
I got attached to the one in Palm Springs. I don't know if it makes a ton of financial sense in terms of cash flow. I think for most people, like starting out, that was my first Airbnb. So
what made you get attached to it?
Just the design, just a cool ass house. Like I just love the design of it. It was a mid-century modern, like built by a famous architect. I loved what my contractors did to it, like the design of it. I've always wanted to have a place in Palm Springs. So I looked at it more of like, we can have a second home. I can be close to my dad. So the numbers to me was like, like does it really matter? Not really.
Do you guys ever use it as a second home, or do you mostly always have it Airbnb?
So we've used it multiple times. This year's just been crazy with the wedding. We just got it rented out for the first time in end of October for a month, and then we have it rented out from December through February, which is like 45 days. And 45 days, I'm getting like 10, 11,000, something like that, which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But you know, and I think with Airbnb, it's like, I always compare it to like being married or being single, right? You have an inconsistent relationship when it comes to an Airbnb, which means rent, right? You don't have steady rents coming in every single month. And then with my one in Encinitas, it's a marriage, because consistent rents come in each and every month. I know what's coming in. So, and I think that's hard for like most people to understand, like with rentals or purchasing investment properties, is like, if you're going to go straight after Airbnb, you're going to have significant costs, like setup costs. For me, we spent $250,000 in the renovation. Then we also had to spend $40,000 with furniture and everything else, and then pictures and marketing. But I'm also holding on to this property, right, for 6 months without it being rented out.
So that's a huge soft cost.
Yep. Yeah. With paying the mortgage, which initially was only, $6,000. Now it's $8,000. So I just think that a lot of people, beginning investors, just don't understand the costs that associate. This is high end, so they don't understand, like, even with a low end stuff, it's still like, if you only have enough for a down payment and maybe 2 months of expenses, I think you need way more than that. Like, I think you should have 12 months of reserves and your down payment and enough to do furnishings.
Yeah, especially on something that needs a reno. Yeah, because like, I don't know, I'm always trying to underpromise and overdeliver, but it's so hard on renovations. I feel like I'm always pushing or slightly over the budget, which is frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, we were definitely 50,000 over budget, but we also I just started kind of like, I want this and I want that. And like, it was my fault going into it. We also did have a ton of big like issues that came up that we had to fix. I mean, it's a brand new house now. Like, we had plumbing issues, we had electrical issues.
And sometimes those alone could blow through the budget.
Oh, I mean,
any one of those things.
$70K just with the utility stuff and pool. Like,
it's huge.
That's not even including like just the main house and
but then also it's like your experiment too, because you're like, well, especially the first few, you're like, what kind of finishes do I want to put in? I don't want to make this place look baller. And you're like, okay, well, that's what that costs. Let's see, is there another way to achieve a similar look with like maybe hex tile instead of a full slab on the shower?
Well, I had a designer for this place too, who designed the whole place, which I love. We went back and forth like 5 or 6 times with the revisions, but I wanted to make this place like an ultra chic, like mid-century modern house. I was able to, even in this market, I was able to burr it. I bought it for 6 something, mid sixes, 640. Put 250 into it. I was able to pull all my cash out and appraise at 1.3. So I'm only into it for like 850 or something like that. Yeah. 859, something like that.
It's awesome.
So that was, I thought I was going to be able to sell it. I was going to initially, I looked at it as a flip, and then as we were like buying it in escrow, I was like, you know what, I do want to keep this thing. So we started designing it as if it was our house, which is cool. But it's
that's where the expenses can start going a little higher than they need to be for a rental.
Yeah, that's why
But
the emotional.
it's cool to have properties you're proud of too. I think that alone is like a healthy relationship to have with your real estate. I mean, I know there's a lot of slumlords out there who like it's all about the money.
For sure.
Like it's like I want to have a good relationship. I want my tenants to be stoked. I want to have a good relationship with them. I want there to be a fair trade-off with the amount of rent I'm asking and what they're getting. I want it to like stand out in the community
100%.
and elevate the community too. I think a lot of people are, that's a topic I was talking about recently because there's a lot of people, a lot of tenant associations in San Diego who think that landlords are the cause of high rents when there's all these other factors going into play that are just natural supply and demand and economics. We've been they've limited the supply of housing for so long. We're so behind now that rents in the last couple of years have just gone through the roof. And then the landlords here, our properties are falling apart. Tenants are living in properties where, you know, in many cases, I mean, I've had some where I've come in as the new owner and had to ask the tenants to leave because it's just not healthy to be there. There's, you know, all kinds of, mold and things like that on the walls, like cabinets are falling apart, water damage, sewer lines are broken. I mean, you can't allow people to live in those situations. It's not healthy for them. I mean, these families have kids and stuff and they're not saying anything. I have to come in and fix this place up.
100%.
And there's a huge demand for renovated units. As you saw in your chic house in Palm Desert. I mean, people are excited to come and experience this, this experience that you created, you know, this location, and, you put a lot of time and effort and thought into it. And, you know, I think that alone it warrants doing the work that we do.
Yeah. And I think during the time that I was buying this is everywhere. It was all bad publicity. Airbnbs are crashing and all this stuff. And I'm just one of those people who needs to experience something myself. And if I lose money, I lose money, right? But it's my money and I can afford to lose it if I lose it. And I still have an asset that I can keep or sell for a profit if I needed to. But I didn't want to listen to anyone. I wanted to just try it, see what happened, and go through that experience without listening to news or any other bullshit, because I think that's the biggest thing from standing in the majority of people's way about investing in real estate or investing in stocks or changing their life, is that the analysis paralysis, right? Is overthinking things or watching too much news or not understanding things. And so for me, I just want to be able to do it first and then understand later, right? Like I want to go and flip my first house or, buy the Airbnb or keep a rental. Like you need to do it. You just do it and then figure it out. And maybe you do it wrong the first time, but I could afford to do it wrong. So I was willing to take that risk.
I mean, I think it's funny because you learn about all this stuff, or you could go and, take these classes in school and stuff like that. But you really don't learn anything until you actually experience it yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, that gets in a lot of people's way. But once I tell everybody, it was like the first deal is the hardest. Once you get the first one done, you get comfortable with this business. You start to understand. Maybe you did fall on your face a couple times, but it wasn't catastrophic because you had people like me or you who are there and able to provide advice along the way, so they don't do something catastrophic.
Absolutely.
But once you get that first deal, you get hooked on it because you're like, wow, this makes sense. I understand this long-term approach to investing in real estate and creating better living situations for people, and at the same time improving my wealth along the way. I think it's huge. So you have to experience it yourself.
100%. And I think surrounding yourself with, like we said, the right people is extremely important, right? Like my mentor, a good friend of mine, like he pushed me to actually buy both of the rentals that I bought this year. And honestly, both of them have increased my net worth this year alone, like $1 million in terms of what I bought them for and what equity I have in the deals. And I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for him to push me and say, hey dude, you got this. Like you have enough experience. You flipped enough houses. You can do this on your own. And that was a huge thing. And I'm forever grateful for him. So it's an amazing experience to have people in your corner that like are rooting for you to do the right thing. And especially like, I'm sure like your mentors or your dad, like all these people are like, dude, if you find the right deal, we'll figure it out. Like we'll create a tremendous amount of net worth, like through just buying deals.
You need to surround yourself with people who want you to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of, there's a lot of examples of people in town who have mentors who are just using you to find the deals so that they can have it all themselves. Like, I want the people who are bringing me deals to have a part in them if they want it, or I want them to win. I want to help show them the way to do what we're doing so that they can continue to improve communities and also create generational wealth along the way. I think it's so important to surround yourself with people who have your best interests in mind as well.
100%.
In many ways, in many times, like for my juniors who work for me, I tell them, I'm like, hey, you can work here for a year, and I hope that you get experience from that you can take to whatever job you decide if this isn't for you.
Right.
I will support you in any endeavor that you want. I'm not going to get butthurt if after a year you decide to leave, like a lot of people might, because they feel like they've put a lot of time and effort. It's about wanting what's best for your employees too.
100%. And speaking of that, like Liam, dude, he's such a good dude, and
He's the best. Yeah.
He's just he's one of those people who I like connected. He DM'd me after I had Chris on my podcast. He had DM'd me, and him and I just like went and had coffee and just shot the shit. And he's just so attentive and like truly, when someone cares. Right. And he was one of those people who I like looked at and I was like, dude, you're going to do great things. Like whatever you decide to do, if it's not commercial, if it's not this, if it's not that, like you will find what fits for you and you will do great things because people can see that he is very authentic. Like he seems like a wholehearted, really good person.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure like
he's just so excited. It's awesome. I just love having that energy around.
Same.
Every morning. It's awesome because I get to the office and because I told him, I was like, your schedule when you start has to be like, getting here at 7, getting that BS work out of the way, getting ready for the day, and then 8 a.m. just hitting it hard.
100%.
He's there every day before I get there, greets me when I arrive, and then I have like literally 5 minutes to write my goals down, and then he's like, hey, can we do some follow-up calls? And I'm like, yes, I would love to do that. Like, you are just an animal. You're so hungry.
And I love that.
And everybody he meets says the same thing, and it's really cool. I'm really happy to have him on our team, and I know he's going to do big things.
That's actually how we connected too, which is kind of funny because we were at Jarvis's event. I was like in a rush to get out of there. I was so tired. But yeah, you could just tell, like, obviously you and I, like, we're around so many people all the time. And when you meet people, you can see through the bullshit, right? You know who's authentic and who's not authentic and who's here for the right reasons and who's not. And he was just one of those people who I like instantly was like, I like you a lot. Like if you need anything ever, I will and it's not like, a lot of times I think people look at things of like, how can they add value to me versus me where I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. I just want to add value to you because I can see good things out of you. And I think you'll do really good things.
Yeah. And rising tides lift all ships. If I can help rise your tide, I'm sure I'll come up with you in some ways. And yeah, I really, I think that I love that about Liam too. And I hope that, as time goes on, I think I look back, it kind of reminds me of me when I was coming out of college, like I had I hadn't really been hardened by the world in many ways,
right?
Which in some ways is, I was so openly trusting to people almost too much, and it caused me issues because people took advantage of that. And since then I've had to put up these barriers, which I wish I didn't have to do, but that's just the reality of life. You can't just trust people with everything. But I hope that he maintains that spirit because it's infectious. Everybody he talks to
100%
is affected by it. So
yeah, it's just an awesome quality that he has. Let's talk a little bit about. I think a big part of that is like the victim mentality, right? And them being a victim to maybe not being able to, like, not having a good job or not wanting to do more for themselves to eventually go and purchase a house. So the only thing they can do is bash people who are doing it.
About it. It's like take some initiative, and there is so much opportunity in this business and really any business. I mean, we could flip shoes. One of my passions is to eventually create housing for special needs or children and families with that have special needs. And there's so many needs. I mean, think about anything that you wish you had. Like, fill that need in society. Like
100%.
there's demand for it. And like people who are complaining that they don't have enough, that like the apartment owners or these real estate developers who are innovating and creating new ways to actually solve the housing crisis. I mean, I'm literally building ADUs. I'm converting garage spaces into more units so that that are going to be hyper affordable. I'm renting some units east of downtown that are $1,250 a month. I mean, they're really small, but like it's the most affordable thing on the market. And a lot of people just need a roof over their head.
Absolutely.
And they're nice units too. They got quartz counters and everything. But, you know, for people to get angry that we're filling a need in society, I mean, it's backwards thinking, and they're getting in their own way.
100%. And I think too, like, I wish, I'm a little bit older. Am I 5 years older? I'm 35. Yeah. So when I first got into real estate in 2009, I think that was like YouTube, like Facebook just had started, right? But I was like, I had to learn through like internet research and stuff that really wasn't like from real people that were in the market that knew what they were doing. And especially coming out of a recession, I think now the access to with technology, to education, on how to be able to make more money from your phone or do whatever.
YouTube, university, it's
right,
crazy.
Like, and I'm not just talking just real estate, right? I'm talking about anything, like creating wealth, like
you can learn anything you want.
Yeah.
There's experts just preaching it.
100%.
But like with more expertise in many cases than your college professors. Now, I know there's a lot of like fake news too. A lot of people who aren't qualified to be giving advice and are giving advice. So you kind of got to make sure you're hearing from a couple different sources and make your best thing. But like I'm learning guitar. I was watching guitar. I got a guitar yesterday. I was watching guitar tutorials on how to learn Jack Johnson. You can learn literally anything. I just did hot mops in a garage yesterday. I've never done a hot mop before. I didn't personally do it, but learned from those people, and then looked on YouTube after how to install tile. How big of shower tiles can we have on the bottom? Like, it's just all the information's right there. You don't have to go flip through an encyclopedia for 10 minutes. You literally can say, Siri, show me a video on this, and it's right there. It's so much opportunity.
There is. And that's why those comments, I think, drive me nuts, because I'm just like, okay, if it is like a money thing, if it's like you can't afford to buy a house and you think that we're pushing up prices and causing, you know, issues with supply, okay, like go and do some research and go. But I think the biggest thing is not watching the negative people. You know, there's so many people that are negative also online where like someone like that can align themselves with someone super negative and then all of a sudden hold themselves back from doing something bigger and better that they're meant to do.
Right. Well, it's like politics too. It's like they're constantly trying to do the us versus them and wealthy versus the poor. And
stupid. When
really it's like, how about we all just, like, rising tides really should lift all ships. Like, if you wanted advice on how to do something for me, if I have the expertise, I want to share that with you. I'm not concerned that you're going to be a competition with me. Like, we all have good intentions in mind. And again, I think these people are just getting in their own way. They're in the mentality of, they don't believe in themselves, I guess, because they don't think that they can pick themselves up by the bootstraps and actually learn something new and create a different life. They think they're stuck in this rut, this cage that society put them in, and really doors open all around you. You're just not walking out.
100%. And you have to have, like, I have the abundance mindset. Like you, and I think for everyone listening, like, you have to think like that. You have to. Like, if you can do it once, like, let's say your goal was to make $10,000 a month, right? And then you had some shitty months. If you can make $10,000 a month, you can do it every single month. And you can do even better than that, just putting a little bit more effort and a little bit more effort, and it continues to grow. Yeah. And you just have to have the mindset that, like, anything is possible.
Yeah. And it's crazy too. You get this momentum. Every single thing that you do, it's, you run into all these obstacles, but every single thing that you do, you have now you've added one more skill to your repertoire. Now all of a sudden, like, 5 years go by, and even if they took away, like, your whole business, you've got all these skills that you've built up. You're able to fill so many needs in society. It's so that much easier to just jump right back in and start, creating income at a higher salary, and understanding how to do that is I think it's a gift. And if people ignore that gift, then they're just missing out on life altogether.
100%. Yeah, it's huge. Well, dude, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. This has been a great episode. Hope you all enjoyed. Do you want to give out your socials? And
yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, Josh. It's been really cool getting to know you too, and hope we do some deals together.
Yeah.
You guys, if you want to follow me, my Instagram handle is Cashflow Alexio. That's Cashflow Alexio. And if you go find me on there, or really Twitter, LinkedIn, everything, it's similar handle. And be happy to answer any questions you have or help you do business in San Diego real estate.
Love it, dude.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Sweet.